It might surprise some of you to know that I have other interests apart from politics. I am also a huge comic book nerd. I have a vast collection, some rare ones, and I'm really into sci-fi and fantasy. I'm one of them, I'm afraid. Sorry. And I was really excited to find out that there's a new Game of Thrones House of Dragon series coming out. I'm into that. I'm really enjoying it. And the latest Lord of the Rings thing on Amazon, The Rings of Power. Now, personally, I'm really enjoying it. I don't give a shit. I really don't give two fucks what the colour of the actors and actresses are in this particular series. Because I am a big believer that if you're going to portray something historically accurate, and I know Lord of the Rings is just fantasy, but bear with me here. Historical accuracy is very, very important because it's important for the people whose culture that history belongs to is told, is told the truth. And you mustn't really divert away from it. For example, a white historical person or character must be portrayed by a white actor or actress. And the same goes for historical people of colour. They have to be played by the same demographic, otherwise it's not accurate. And I feel like there's a changing of history to adapt or to pander to a political narrative, which is dangerous, and I don't like that. But the same goes for sci-fi and fantasy. If the author writes a book and in that book a character is described as having the fairest pale skin, like Tolkien described his elves in The Lord of the Rings, and I think it was the Silmarillion. My God, that's a book that's really hard to read. And so forth. You get my drift. Then I think people portraying that book and those characters on film, they should be faithful to the author's vision. I think that's very important. And also it shows respect for that author as well. Now, the thing with the Rings of Power is it wasn't really written by Tolkien, though I believe his estate did have a hand in it. Again, this is all completely made up, but it's for Amazon's narrative. So really, they could do whatever the hell they want with it, because there are characters introduced into this particular story that some people everywhere have a bit of a problem with, like there are black people in Middle Earth. I mean, why not? What's the problem with that? All right, Tolkien didn't have any of that demographic when he wrote Hobbit, Silmarillion, Lord of the Rings, etc. But this is a completely different story or timeline, if you will. And so, the creators can put whatever the hell they want into it. After all, it is fantasy, it is sci-fi. There's nothing wrong with having people of different colour in fantasy and sci-fi doing whatever. Like I said earlier, I haven't got a problem with it in this storyline, because this belongs to the people who wrote it and created it. So, it's their thing, it's their baby. Who am I to say, what demographic or what skin colour the characters or the actors and actresses should be in it? It's just stupid. But yeah, there have been the usual lot complaining on both sides, really, on the left and the right. You've got some people on the right saying there shouldn't be black people in this, and their argument is really just, you can easily pick it apart, like I've just shown you, all right? And there are people on the left calling those people racists because they're complaining about black people being in this storyline. And again, their arguments can be completely refuted. Now, some of the arguments put forward by some of the people on the right complaining about the demographics of the characters and actors and actresses in this storyline are being labelled as the usual, inevitable racism. Of course, it's not racism. Some of these people are arguing, without really thinking about it, that the characters should stay true to Tolkien's narrative. And so I came across, while researching this, a tweet by a blue tick verified Twitter account, a prominent leftist. And I won't give you the name, all right, but he said, or they, them, my God, if you're mad that there are black elves and black dwarves in Middle Earth, I have news for you. Middle Earth isn't real. but you are really racist. So there we go, the typical response by a white liberal there about people criticising demographics, etc., being involved in a sci-fi or any storyline, really. And I don't doubt there probably is a smidgen, maybe a tad bit of racism by a very small number of the people criticising the Rings of Power TV series. But again, people like this verified Twitter blue tick idiot, they're offended on other people's behalves, and everyone's a racist. And so to counter that argument by this idiot and others like him, they, them, I will bring up the Black Panther and Wakanda. Now, the Black Panther is a Marvel Comics character. It was conceived, I think, in the late 60s and first appeared in a Fantastic Four comic. The character Black Panther was created by two white cartoonists, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, none other. And then, of course, the Black Panther went on to have his own comic book series. And yes, they made films. I think the second Black Panther film is coming out soon. That's called Wakanda Forever. So the Black Panther comes from a fictional African city or country called Wakanda, which is the most technically advanced country in the world. And of course, this is utter fantasy created by two people, according to them or according to Stan Lee, in order to fight racism and be a bit more inclusive with their Marvel superhero characters, which is fair enough. You know, sci-fi and fantasy, you can do whatever the fuck you like with whomever. But I wonder how these lefties who feel that people criticising black actors and actresses portraying black elves and black dwarves, etc., as racists would feel. I wonder how they would feel. That since Wakanda isn't real either, it's about as real as Middle-earth, then how would they feel if they recast the next Wakanda Forever Black Panther film entirely with white and Asian actors? Because I tell you now, there would be black supremacists and extreme members of the black community. They would be up in arms over this. And so would people like the verified Twitter blue tick idiot, and many like him, they, them, she, her, whatever the hell this person identifies as. Because they would feel, and I would put money on it that they would feel it's cultural appropriation. And the Black Panther, Wakanda, copyright, whatever you want to call it, belongs to them, even though it was created entirely by two white guys. So my stance is this: leave The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit how they are. Leave The Rings of Power how they are. They are different projects belonging to different people with different visions, and it's their thing. And yes, having watched the first two episodes of The Ring of Power, I have noticed there is a slight woke angle to it, but not too much that makes it unwatchable. Because the story is actually, I think is well written. It's interesting and it's compelling, but then again, it's just me. And believe you me, folks, you know me, if it was woke as fuck, I'd have called it out and I wouldn't be fucking watching it. But for the most part, so far, it is just pure fantasy and I like it. As the old saying goes, each to their own. And that's it. That's what I think. Sorry if you think that's a bit long-winded. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from on this issue. And if you think otherwise, then let me know. Please say so in the comments. And there you go. So, until my next video, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and Roger Trout.